Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Today, of course, we had a big win over the last several hours throughout this country. And you know what? Everybody's going to try to spin it a certain way. And what we are going to have to do is lay the cards on the table. Exactly how does it need to be spun? We're going to talk about that because right now, first of all, the Republicans are, in fact, genuinely scared about what's going to happen going forward. But secondly, the Democrats, specifically the Democratic establishment, has to start wondering, oh my God, if we're going to have this blowout, progressives don't know, that centrist message is not going to play a role anymore. That centrist message that we need to push to help out the plutocracy, the left side of the plutocracy, that's not going to work anymore. How do we temper this after that big win? How do we temper this? That's what we're going to talk about. The title of the show today is, and let me get to the title of the show. The title of the show is Republican Wipeout Around the Country Tells a Bigger Story. It is a story you're not going to see on MSNBC, CBS, ABC, and MSNBC and all the others. It's a story that we're going to talk about because it is very, very important. So title of the show, Republican Wipeout Around the Country Tells a Bigger Story. Subtitle is, Let's Be Clear. The Republican defeat yesterday was real and prophetic only if Democrats make the case. And that case isn't the status quo. Republican losses are not yet complete. They have time to change their narrative. Will Democrats be nimble? One can rest assured that the Republican analytical teams are analyzing the data and mapping it to narratives. They will be prepared in 2020. Make no mistake about it. They will be prepared. Democrats better have their own narrative that is not the status quo or Republican light. Republicans and independents will only leave the fold in the next presidential year for a real change when the case is made. And today, before we get started with that part of the program, we have our regular Wednesday evening or Wednesday afternoon, I guess, which is now the Senate candidate for Georgia. We have with us right now the one and only Tamara Shealy. Tamara, how are you doing today? Oh, you are in a car, Tamara. What's going on?
Hey, Egberto. Good afternoon, Politics Done Right family. Exciting news. Yes, Egberto, I have announced just today that I am going to run for the U.S. Senate right here in Georgia, Egberto.
In Georgia? You're going to be the U.S. senatorial candidate in Georgia. Well, I tell you what, tell us a little bit more about what you intend to do with your campaign in Georgia.
In Georgia. You know I'm a Southern belle now.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I do. Trust me, I know.
Raw.
So tell me a little bit about before we get into the subject at hand, tell me a little bit about your campaign. I mean, if you're in a car, it must mean you're already on the campaign trail. So tell me a little bit about that.
Egberto, I already am. But let's talk real quick why these races in Georgia are so significant across this country. Georgia will be making history. We will have two U.S. Senate candidates on the ballot at the same time in 2020. Only a few times in history has that been done. Senator Isaacson is not well. Governor Kemp will appoint, but there still will be an election in 2020. So, and on the ballot, presidential ballot, we're going to have two U.S. Senate races, and I am going to be in that Isaacson race.
Well, oh, so you're going in the Isaacson lane. That's interesting that you chose
Yeah.
that lane.
Yeah. Because the other race where we have Senator Perdue, there's already 4 candidates, Democratic candidates in that race. But like I said, the governor will appoint to Isaacson's seat. So all of us on the ballot will be running for that seat.
Okay, and how many do you have running so far for Isaacson?
I think there's a couple candidates that have already announced, but thus far, I am the Democratic candidate. I think maybe there's another one, but I am the Democratic candidate.
So let me ask you this: in the Isaacson race, I believe both Democrats and Republicans run in the same tally. Is that correct?
Yeah. It'll be a jungle. It'll be like we call it a jungle primary here. If nobody gets 50% plus one, there will be a runoff.
Okay, so now you have to raise funds to go through the entire state because this isn't District 40 anymore.
No, sir. This is the entire state of Georgia, and I'm excited, and I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to do it. I think my previous races have prepared me for this, and it's time. It's time. I have a very strategic agenda. I am ADOS. For those of you that don't know, Egberto scratches his head when I say this. American Descendants of Slavery. Whatever, Egberto. And we're going to talk reparations. That's a conversation that is being had across this nation. So we're gonna have that conversation right here in Georgia, and we have a very strong agenda.
Now you have a backing of ADOS and quite a few other organizations, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. ADOS is growing and making a lot of headway, and we're bringing that energy right here to Georgia.
Now, as far as are there any other Democratic candidates in the field that you told me that you're the only one so far in that jungle primary. Are there any others that have come across?
Well, there's two other candidates in the race, and I'm not going to talk. I don't know who they are, but I'm the Democratic candidate.
Oh, okay. You are the Democratic candidate. I stand corrected that, who cares? You are the Democratic candidate. Okay, so tell me a little bit about what you thought about what occurred yesterday.
Well, Egberto, I am stomping at the pavement. I heard about Kentucky. I heard about Virginia. I think that, the GOP and this Trump administration, I think their time is up. And I think people are ready to see some real change and bring America back to what we know it to be. Because whatever this is, it is unfamiliar to most of us.
Well, you know what is a good thing about it is after we are done with your segment, that is something that we are going to be discussing going forward, because we are really going to be discussing now that we are seeing, everybody thought Donald Trump is, well, let me put it this way. People think Donald Trump is a lot stronger than Donald Trump really is. Donald Trump has a big mouth, and people have a tendency to believe what comes out of his big mouth. But you remember back when you were in high school, you had that guy that was always the bully, and he was always beating up on those people that, were scared of him just because he beat up on a few weak people. And then there's this guy that everybody thought was weak, but he was quiet. And then he just walked out there. And when the bully went ahead and tried to manhandle him, he just knocked the bully out. And when the bully fell, everybody looked at him then and said, oh, he was just a paper tiger. That happened in my school. There was this bully that was out there doing a whole lot of stuff. And a skinny guy, this little skinny guy, just gave him a right uppercut, knocked him out. And that bully never was the same again. He was quiet.
Were you the
from
skinny
then
guy?
on. What's that?
Were you that skinny guy?
No, I didn't. In school, the funny thing about it is I never had to fight. I always had people around me that whenever I got, there were times in school that I had a cast on because I had scoliosis. So I had like my posse, right? And no, they never let anybody mess with me. Anybody kind of try to fool around me. I had my posse, Barker and Nandi, and these guys would knock them out if they messed with me. So, I had other people that were nice.
Oh, good. And I guess we need somebody to knock Trump out right now, because I think that's what's going to happen. I think people are across this country. We're going to see all kinds of progressives get elected. And this challenge is not to just the Republican Party and this Trump administration. The establishment Democrats, we want a progressive. It's time for progressives to rise up, and we want a progressive agenda.
Tamara,
we want to see some real change.
Listen, you are so absolutely right. And my fear is that this win here, I'm going to go into what some people told me on my blog post on my thing where it's like, oh well, yeah, remember that? Yeah, we had some big wins yesterday, but they were really all those people that were running were centrists. No, they weren't. They were the people voted because they see a Democratic Party that is moving somewhere else. That's why they saw a reason to vote Democratic. I don't care if the candidates were centrist. All those centrist candidates are walking on top of everything that the progressives have been building over the years.
Yeah, this country's we're going to have some progressive candidates get elected up and down the ballot. We're going to have some progressive policies get initiated. I'm just excited about. I hate that Donald Trump happened. I hate it. I think we all hate that it happened, but I think there's going to be so much good that comes on the other side of this for the sake of America that I think I'm glad to be a part of this history making time.
Well, I mean, what we have to do. Yes, we hate that Donald Trump to do. Hey, welcome aboard, Raynard Blake and Michael Dean Newton. Thank you so kind. Let's see, media ain't covering Blue Wave in 2018, 2019. They need a race for ratings. Hey, we're going to cover that, and I'm going to talk a lot about that today, Michael Dean Newton. So hang with us, but we want Tamara to really start to make her case, that necessary case about what we are doing in the progressive space. So Tamara, what else going on, my friend?
Like I say, I'm pounding the pavement. I'm back on the campaign trail. That's going to be my life moving forward, Egberto.
Yeah. Now, what is your? Let me tell you, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has made very effective use of the internet so that she didn't have to go with the big boys to do funding. My expectation, my hope for you is that you're not going to go out there seeking those big funders from the Democratic Party who, if you start to get traction, that is what they're going to start to suggest that you do. I am. But
guess what, Egberto?
Let me hear.
Guess what, Egberto? They're not going to give me any money.
Right.
I've already made. The Democratic Party understands. What this is, and AOC didn't get her support. Straight from the Democrats. We kind of have to create our own network, and that's why I get excited about this our form of media, social media, and this non-traditional media that we're a part of. We're much more powerful, and I'm just like I said, this is a great time in history, and we're going to change the state of politics in this country.
Well, I think it's important, and what you said is absolutely correct, right? We have to go through the other channels so that when you have to do what you have to do without being owned. Slavery is long gone, but there's a new slavery out right now. And the interesting thing about it is that slavery has no color. Because we look at all of those anti-Medicare for all candidates, it's not that they're really anti-Medicare for all, it's that they're slaves to a corporatocracy. Let me tell you something, Tamara. I have videos that I'm going to be releasing that shows even Nancy Pelosi saying the best way to do this is a single-payer system. And now she doesn't even want to talk to Elizabeth Warren about her single-payer system. And we have Obama saying single-payer is the way to go. We have all these Democrats that are saying these things. If you are changing your tune because the corporatocracy tells you to do that, are you not a slave?
You are. Absolute. Bought and sold, Egberto. Bought and sold.
Exactly right. So that is what we're fighting right now. That is what we are intending to win right now. And guess what, Tamara Sheely? That is what's going to happen. We can rest assured that is what will happen in the near term. So we're at time number 14. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how are you going to run around the state? Are you going to do the thing like some of these candidates that say, you know what? I'm going to get into my car and I'm going to put a whole ton of miles on my car.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm going to do, Egberto. My uncle has already agreed to drive me. My teacher will be joining me, and we're just going to hit the road. We got volunteers that we're going to be meeting up with. It's just going to be, we're going to be all over the state all the time in 2020. So I'll be everywhere all the time.
I am glad to hear that. So your intent, you're going to be intentional in doing that 100%.
Oh yeah, like right now I'm over. I came over to this area like southeast Atlanta. That's very, very, very industrial, but it literally is quote unquote the hood. And coming into these areas where these communities are so underserved, and you have all these factories and all this pollution, all these trucks over here. It's amazing to me. And these communities, nobody can hear them. I hear them.
Right.
I hear them, and I'm over here now. I
Well,
hear
you know,
and I see
nobody. No, the thing is, nobody wants to hear them because again, that's not their interest. So I mean, it's good to have somebody in the race that's going to bring all those subjects to the fold. All of those subjects will now will have people talking about. And guess what, Tamara? You can get traction by doing just that. And
exactly.
that is what we're
and that's
hoping
exactly, And that's exactly what I intend to do, Egberto. Be a voice to the voiceless.
So give us a closer, and let us know how folks can really help your campaign, because I want to be, as well as everybody should want to be, an integral part of a grassroots campaign that is intent on taking no money from the corporatocracy, but moving forward and helping the people of Georgia.
Yeah, those small dollar donations really do add up. ADOS came through. I love my ADOS family. They got me off the ground with my first 5K with just small dollar donations. And it works. It adds up. The continuation of it is just, that is how you do. To me, that is how you run campaigns.
Right. Well, and that is exactly how, like I said, Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, Ilhan Omar, and what's her name? Rashida Tlaib. All those folks. So we're going to add you to the squad to go ahead and make sure that you get things done. Tamara Sheely, thank you so kindly for being a part of Politics Done Right. You take care, and we are going to get busy with the rest of the show.
Thank you, Egberto.
Have a great one. Thank you very much. Okay, folks, that was the one and only Tamara Sheely. And you know what, folks? She has really jumped into the fold, and she has really decided to put her mouth or put her actions where she said she would. Think about that. You know, that is something that we've been talking to people about doing for a long time. You go ahead and make your space. You go ahead and not just talk about winning. You go ahead and create. But we are going to have a great show for you today. I want to really get busy early. Okay, Renard Blake, welcome aboard. Michael Dean Newton, welcome aboard. Mike Cisak, welcome aboard. Manuel Herrera, welcome aboard. We have a lot to talk about. Okay, and before I answer or start to doing that, I want to bring this into the fold. I want to bring this little report from MSNBC, and then we'll take it on the other side. MSNBC, this reporter at MSNBC, this host at MSNBC made it clear that yesterday's victory by Democrats was wide. It was sweeping. Not only Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and elsewhere. Check this out.
Election victories in Kentucky and Virginia, even Pennsylvania, but no rest for the weary. Strategists are doing deep dives on the suburban vote, on turnout, and the messaging they hope will help them replicate the winning formula for 2020. Let's start in Kentucky, where after a bitterly contested race for governor, Democrat Andy Beshear emerged the winner. The key to his victory came not just in Kentucky's cities and suburbs, but in the biggest shocker in southeastern Kentucky, coal country. The outcome, a bit of an embarrassment for President Trump, who held a rally for incumbent Matt Bevin less than 12 hours before voters went to the polls. Trump won the state in 2016 by a whopping 30 points, but his message this time, radical Democrats are going totally insane, didn't save Bevin, though the governor has yet to concede. In Virginia, a sweeping victory that cements the longtime red state as blue. Democrats there won the House and Senate to take full control of state government for the first time in a quarter century. And again, it was all about a suburban blowout. The impact extending all the way down ballot to, say, county commissioners. Democrats took every single seat on the Fairfax County School Board. And almost no one is talking about Pennsylvania's results last night, but maybe they should, because in local elections in the suburbs from Delaware County to Chester County, voters rejected Republican candidates. One example, Democrats delivered a clean sweep of the Delaware County Council. That has been under Republican control, get this, since the Civil War.
Okay, so what we're saying here is Democrats won all over. It was a blowout. It was a rout. All the positions that mattered, went to a Democrat or somebody else. And this is important. And let me tell you why. Because there are narratives that are going out there that make that some believe that Donald Trump was so much more powerful than he was or than he is. Donald Trump is a paper tiger. That Donald Trump can save the Republican Party from the rout in 2020 is the biggest fallacy, the biggest smoke and mirrors. 2020 will be a blowout for Democrats. And I'm saying that, however, with a caveat. And here's the caveat. The caveat is we cannot allow us to recede into a timidity, into a status quo, into a false belief that somehow this was a centrist win. Every single Democrat that came back home, every single independent that voted Democratic, every single Republican that voted Democratic, know that this is a party that is moving towards more humane policies. Every single person who voted for Democrat, because it is all over. It is all over the system that this is what is occurring. So we cannot fall for the fallacy into believing that somehow this is centrist. A lot of folks want to say, well, you know, if you look at Governor Bashir or the new Governor-elect Bashir, the new Governor-elect Bashir did not go ahead and campaign on a progressive mantra. He didn't have to. In fact, he didn't need to. All he needed to do was win. People don't need to be told, we are going on some progressive expedition. You know why? Labels. 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 People have been made to hate certain labels, but they love certain values. They love certain policies. So you need not say, you know, deep inside, you know who cares for you. You know who is going to provide you those services that you need. You know those who want to give you a better chance at coming home. You know that. You don't want to call it by any labels, but you do know. So what we're trying to say, folks, is every person who voted in every election for a Democrat knew that they were voting, hopefully, they were hoping that they were voting for change that was material to their condition, to their living. I'm going to come and start answering more of your questions in a little bit, folks that are online. But I want to finish with where I'm going. I want to play next a piece by the former governor of Ohio. And then we're going to take it on the other side. This former governor of Ohio wants to warn Republicans. But the next thing that he did was a false warning to Democrats. A false warning to Democrats. Let's talk about that. Here we go.
Big lesson for Republicans. It looks as though the midterm results, which showed the suburbs and even the areas even beyond the suburbs beginning to move away from Republicans because of the rhetoric, the negativity, the division, and all that. But there's also a very big lesson for Democrats. If you think you're going to win nationally with Medicare for All and New Green Deal and all that other stuff, you're not going to win. Because when you look at what happened in 2018, and when you look at Bashir, and even look at the races in Virginia, where the Democrats have taken the state Senate, you will find those candidates running closer to the middle than on the extremes.
So you think the country is center right, center left?
I do.
You
I do. There's a lot of
even with all the
voices on
rhetoric and all the
right,
division we have going on, John.
I think, Don, you and I, a lot of people, we live in a bubble. We hear these voices out here, whether they're on Twitter, whether they're on television. We hear those voices. But most people are not focused on those kinds of extremes.
Most people are not focused on those types of extremes. They are in the middle. Hey, if you want to call that the people are in the middle, I don't have a problem with you stating that, but what the hell does the middle mean? What exactly is the middle? What do you want to call the middle? We'll talk about that in a little bit. I want to get to my peeps on the internet here and see what you have to say. Peace and greetings from Lansing, Michigan. Reynard Blake, welcome aboard. Michael D. Newton, media ain't covering Blue Wave in 2018 and 2019. They need a race for ratings. Indiana elected a trans person. Yes, they did. Indiana, imagine that. And in Virginia, they elected a trans woman as well. In fact, we discussed that on KPFT 90.1 on election coverage last night. We also have, I think it was in Mississippi or Alabama. I don't recall where it was either. But look, the country has already changed. And most people are with the change. It is just a few that are trying to, oh my God, have a irrational fear that I cannot really explain. Irrational fear. Oh, wow. Reynard Blake, who just made that statement, we're going to discuss that. That statement that you just made, Reynard, is very, very, very important. Okay, now or ever. Okay, I'm going to come to you in a little bit. Okay, Reynard, reparations must be discussed. Absolutely. And you know what? Democrats are scared of reparations because it's going to upset a group of voters, right? Well, you know what? Which group of voters will it upset? If what we do when we talk about those issues is talk about them honestly and how can we deal with it more effectively? How do we undo real wrongs that have been systemic along? I mean, Americans are honest people. We have a tendency to, and you know, most Americans are good. We have a tendency not to give them the benefit of the doubt. You know why? And I'm going to tell you why. This is an important why that I need to tell you. And that is because most of the people that control our economy, they suffer from a distinct type of pathology. A lot of these people that are the ones that are wealthy, they got their wealth because they were able to step on others. I'm not saying everybody is like that. I'm just saying many of the people that consider themselves the wealthy, a lot of these people, the way they got there is really on the backs of others. So they have a certain pathology, and in having that pathology, they think that everybody suffer that same kind of disease. The thing about it is that disease is not large. That disease doesn't cover a whole lot of people. That disease isn't large. Most Americans are good people, so they will understand if things are presented to them in a manner that says, we're not trying to hurt you, we're not trying to accuse you, we're just saying these are the issues that need to be solved. So yes, Reynard Blake, reparations must be discussed. Now, Mike Cisak says, did you see how many wins the GOP won last night? Yes, I did. In fact, if you want to go to, just to let you know that I know it very well, if you go to Kentucky, after the governor, all the state offices did in fact go to Republicans. I understand that quite well. But the thing about it, my friend, is the importance of Kentucky is that Donald Trump came into Kentucky to support Bevin directly. Bevin was ahead in the polls by 5%. Before Donald Trump came into the states, Bevin's poll numbers were up by 5%. Donald Trump came with his rhetoric, with his hate, with his divisiveness, and he cost Bevin the election by several points. Now, we need to talk a little bit more about that. Bevin is the one who came out wholeheartedly against teachers. Bevin is the one who really wanted to have a sort of a conservative utopia in Kentucky. It wasn't the new attorney general, the new black guy that became attorney general. It wasn't the assistant, the governor, what you call it, the assistant governor or whatever they call them, that was really controversial like Bevin was. Bevin was Trump incarnate. And what we showed there is that Trump is a paper tiger. They rejected Trump. Kentucky rejected Trump. Now, let's talk a little bit further about Kentucky in coal country. I could have told you that. I could have told you that up in coal country what was going to happen. Let me go ahead and get to the phones. I think the phones are working now. We still do have some technical problems. Let me see if the phone is working. Well, the person hung up. Anyhow, let me tell you, this is important. Trump is a paper tiger. Trump has a big mouth, and when you do the polls and people say they want Trump, what they mean is those are the people who, either the evangelicals, who are controlled by a group of folk that, I really have a soft spot for evangelicals because when you believe in that sort of a thing, right? You believe that your pastor, you believe that your pastor, the shepherd, is going to lead you the right way. So, I mean, you are trained to believe that stuff. I feel for those evangelicals. I have nothing against evangelicals. I have everything against their leaders. Because the leaders of the evangelicals, like I say about many others, are evil. The leaders of the evangelicals are evil because they know the truth. The leaders of the evangelicals are telling them that they can find a way to support hate that is biblical and Jesus-like. They are saying that they can be Christians and hate. They're saying they can be Christians and lie. They're saying that they can be Christians and do all that is wrong. That is what the evangelical leaders have taught their pew. So therefore, I do not have any negative or ill feelings toward evangelicals. My sister is an evangelical, but they've been lied to. Evangelicals have been misled. They have been misled, and they're taking them right over the cliff. Now, here's the thing. I'm a humanist, but if there's a heaven, those leaders of evangelicals are marching their pew directly to hell. And the sooner many of them realize that, the better. Because when you have them talking about civil war, when you have them talking about all these issues, there is a problem. Okay, Manuel Herrera says, okay, let's see. Let me go to the caller and see if we can get there. Caller, let's see if we can get to you. Are you there? Caller, can you hear me? You are live, caller. Can you hear me? Okay, I have the caller online, but the caller is not coming on, so I gather that the caller cannot hear me. Okay, we'll have to figure that out some other time. Anyhow, going back to the story, Manuel Herrera says, last night decided to support Warren was going for Biden. But hell, let's go for broke. We can do this. Manuel Herrera, let me tell you something, Manuel. Whether you support Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, it is time for us to go progressive. I want all our people to start supporting people that support the values that Americans say they want. And those two candidates it's not about going for broke. I mean, I hear you about going for broke, but they are supporting policies Americans say they want. They are supporting policies Americans say they want. Think about that. That's what they're supporting. So don't believe the crap that they're putting out there that says, oh, when the former governor of Ohio, let me play that again. This is what he said.
Big lesson for Republicans. It looks as though the midterm results, which showed the suburbs and even the areas even beyond the suburbs beginning to move away from Republicans because of the rhetoric, the negativity, the division, and all that. But there's also a very big lesson for Democrats. If you think you're going to win nationally with Medicare for all and New Green Deal and all that other stuff, you're not going to win. Because when you look at what...
He's wrong. He's absolutely wrong. When Tamara just called, she called from a section in Georgia where they dump all the dirty industries, and those people get sicknesses from all this dirty stuff. They can't afford to leave those neighborhoods. You're going to tell me those people and many of those people in those neighborhoods don't vote. For every person that we would potentially lose because of the Green New Deal, there are many more to pick up because of the Green New Deal. For every person we lose from Medicare for All because they were misinformed about how Medicare for All really works. For everyone that we may lose because they were ill-informed, because they were lied to and they chose to believe it, There are hundreds out there who understand the concept but simply don't vote because they think it doesn't matter. But if we convince them that we are going to go out there and fight for it, they will be there. So we may lose one over there, but we'll gain 10 more over there. We have to start using our heads on the way we campaign, on what we tell people we are there to offer them. That is what we got to do. So as far as what Manuel Herrera had to say, last night he decided to go for Elizabeth Warren. He was first going for Biden. That is the kind of change that we need to see. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, no, we're going to go left on us. Left? I'm going to jump a few statements and go to what Brother Renard Blake had to say. And his statement was prescient. He said, having a better life is an extreme view? Having a better life is an extreme view? Do you really believe that? In other words, telling somebody, oh, you know what? We are going to start creating jobs to clean up the environment where you are. Green New Deal. We are going to start making sure these areas have health care that never had before. Green New Deal plus Medicare for all. You know, the Green New Deal is complete and encompassing. And people say, why don't you just, in the Green New Deal, why didn't they just talk about the environment only? Why are they talking about social justice? Why are they talking about criminal? The Green New Deal is just that. All these issues are intertwined. All these issues of social justice are intertwined. It's the reason why they build chemical plants in neighborhoods many of you won't find yourself living in. So the Green New Deal has to cover social justice. Because I bet if you're living in a very nice community where you can see blue skies and you don't see a dump and you don't see any of these things, you want to be living in that's social justice. The only reason they put these dumps and these chemical plants and these other things in certain neighborhoods, it's because it's people that nobody cares about. So let's remember that. Folks, if you're just joining us, please remember to share these programs. I need you to share, and share. Why do we need these programs shared? Because a lot of what we discuss, you're not going to see on MSNBC. In other words, last night they brought Governor, what is his name? Come on, somebody tell me. What's the governor that I just played on? The former governor of Ohio. Put it in the notes. I know somebody knows who he is. But anyhow, when these people come on TV, these are the people who gets noticed, right? They notice these people. Okay, LWDU Doobie says, don't plan to win with a status quo candidate because people that feel they are disenfranchised don't vote anyway. That may vote for a progressive, a working class agenda. If I understand what you're saying there, you're saying that the people who normally vote don't vote. There's no reason for them to come out and vote. If we put a Biden, a status quo type candidate, or a Amy Klobuchar or one of these people, because why would they come out and vote? They're offering nothing. They're offering nothing but Republican light, things to appease the Republican elite or the Democratic elite. When I say the Democratic elite, I'm talking about establishment Democrats. That's all they're doing. Okay, Mike Cisak, it was a red wave last night in Kentucky, Mississippi. GOP won few in... You know, Mike, it amazes me. It amazes me how you can get, you can turn a very negative situation into a positive. Yeah, you can bring up the Mississippi and a few in New Jersey, and you can bring up the 3 socialists who lost in Seattle. We must remember that there was an article that I was going to put out there, but I didn't completely read it, so. You know, I don't want to give my audience anything unless I can verify it. Folks, please share this program. If you're just joining us, please share this and make sure other people get the progressive message that's not going to be on TV, that gives them the impetus to go out there and vote. Okay, so what I'm saying, so you said 3 socialists decided to lose in Seattle. Let's remember what Amazon did in Seattle with going into the city council races, okay? Let's remember that. Let's remember money in politics and getting your message out, which is why we are so important. This is why our local programming is so important. This is why our internet programming that covers a national basis is so important. Because we have the corporatocracy that's going to come in and try to shut down the progressives, people that are moving forward. Okay, Raynard Blake says, Miss Sheila needs to focus on people who rarely vote or never voted before. And you know what? Miss Sheila is going to do that. She's going to jump in her car and she's going to drive through every nook and cranny in Georgia and make sure to bring a lot more people into the fold. And you know what? I think she can do it. I saw her work pretty hard when she ran for the state senate and she missed it by a few points. And you know what? You keep trying. If you want to serve the people, you keep trying. Michael Dean Newton, Indiana turning blue. No one's talking about that. Don't want to embarrass Pence. Oh, man. Thank you so kindly for repeating that, Mr. Dean Newton. You're so right about that. Raynard Blake says, bold ideas will result in democratic win. You're absolutely right, sir. Blessed be unto thee. You also say having a better life is not an extreme view. Thank you. Now or never says Democrats need a DOS. Democrats do need a DOS. Democrats need to understand that their base is wide, their base is vast, and stop trying to coddle a base that doesn't want to be coddled. I mean, there are some people that are out there that they just don't want to be called Democrats. They'll vote for Democrats. They just don't. So don't worry about that. Just worry about what you're going to do for them at the ballot box. And not only that, just do good. Just do well. And if you do the right thing for people, they won't go and tell folks, oh, I became a Democrat. I'm not looking for anybody to become a Democrat. I just want them to do the right thing. Okay, Mr. L. Doobie says, to overcome, let me make sure I'm not missing something. Yeah, to overcome this Republican rigged election system, Democrats need big turnout, which means a turnout of new voters. Yes, sir. You're absolutely right. And that is what we're working towards. That's why many people have become, in this part of the country, at least in Texas, we have been signing up registrars left and right. Harris County accounts for 20% of the vote in Texas. I think it's 20% or maybe a little bit north of that. And our activists from Swing Left to Indivisible Houston to PSR, they are just working their butts off. The trans community, the LGBTQ community, I mean, all these different communities are working their butts off so that we can realize a progressive win. The easiest way to turn that off is to listen to that governor who says, Democrats better kind of chill because if they try to be anything other than Republican light, they're going to lose. Folks, if you're just joining us, please go ahead and share this program. Dubis also says, a status quo candidate will not attract voters who feel corporate Democrats do not respect them and will not fight for them. I mean, they don't have to, who feel that way. That is what has happened, right? That is what constantly happened. I really gave those people who didn't vote a hard time for the longest time. Folks, if you're just joining us, please share the program. Now, I used to give them a hard time, but I started to understand or learn after speaking to several people who just say, I don't vote, right? And what somebody told me, and this is why I am so adamant that we must have progressives running and we must have a decidedly progressive message. And not only a progressive message, but we must also have that honesty of heart to let people believe that when we get into office, we are going to push hard for these policies that we've been talking about. And let me explain what this person told me. And they told me in such a manner that I went from, I felt a little bit of embarrassment for myself because I didn't quite internalize what a lot of these people that don't vote have been saying. And it really made an indelible impression in my head. And this is the argument that they make. Folks, if you're just joining us, please share the program. Please share this because we need to get this out widely. This is what the person said. The person said, Democrats come and see us when they need the vote. And they tell us the policies that we want or we support are going to be better for you. So even if they only come and see us every 2 years or every 4 years, it's okay because we believe that all in all, the policy that they want is better, even though it's better for them also, it's also better for us. But what we've been seeing over the years, first of all, irrespective of administrations, there's a sect of people in this country who they've just been doing badly. They have just been doing badly. No improvements. Okay? So they voted, they came out en masse and they voted for President Obama. They came out en masse and they voted for, they keep voting. But they're not listened to. You have the ADOS folks who says, hey, there's a systemic reason why black people, why Latinos, why these folks are on the bottom of the scale. There's systemic problems that actually need intentional addressing. But nobody nobody in the Democratic Party does it intentionally or say it because of the false belief that those white working class are going to feel like we are not taking care of them. In fact, that's the message Donald Trump used on them, as if these others are taking something that belongs to you. And by us being scared to address that head on, we perpetuate the problem. And when we go into Congress, we don't issue policies that actually helps, that takes care of helping that imbalance. Why don't we come with those policies? Because we're scared that Trump and these others are going to say, you see, when you got into office, you didn't take care of these people, you don't take care of that. The thing about it is, it's a false thing. There is enough for everybody, and there is enough to do right by everybody. The problem is to do right by everybody under our current economic model mean that those pathological rich folk, those folks, and this isn't rich envy when I talk about this. These guys have a certain pathology that much is never enough. Having an inordinate amount of wealth is never enough. So they continue to take their biggest portion of the pie. Remember, if they are growing at 7, 8, 10% per year, and our economy is growing at 1, 2, 3%, that is your money. That is a bigger chunk of the economy that they're taking, which means you can't grow. And guess what? Reality has told us that is exactly what is happening. But is the Democratic Party willing to take care of that imbalance and make sure that we have tax policies that correct for that? Guess what? Yes, they are. The Democrats want to solve that problem. And guess what? In all the candidates that we have 2 candidates that are intentional in what they want to do for that. You have to do a tax on wealth. That's the only way you can do it. How much more wealth does Bezos want of that $160 billion that he didn't pay to his employees? How much more wealth does Warren Buffett need from money he didn't pay to all the employees that work for all his hundreds of companies? It's not his. They didn't work for all of that. It is an economic model that allows them to take a bigger share. If we were forcing these guys to pay a certain percentage out, this wouldn't happen. And we'd have more circulation of money in the system. But folks, we don't have a lot of, a lot of those clowns on the Democratic stage are scared to say that. Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders are not. They will come out and tell you exactly the way things are. That there are people out, and this has nothing to do with left or right or extreme. It just has to do with honesty. It has to do with morality. It has to do with humanity. Honest, moral humanity. That's what it's all about. Honest, moral humanity. What the others are practicing is neither honest, it's neither moral, nor is it humane. If you really want that, you have to tackle the problems head on. You cannot allow a counter narrative to go unanswered, and you cannot be a part of that counter narrative. Okay, hello, this is Joan Mayer. Hello, Egberto. We spoke a few months ago about my student in Philadelphia and their daily exposure to gun violence, trauma, and disintegrating toxic schools. Good news here this morning. Kendra Brooks, a progressive working party candidate and tireless public ed advocate, just won a seat on our city council, removing all Republican power from the 17-member council, which now has only one GOP member. And our traditionally red surrounding counties, Buck and Delaware, have turned blue. I think you are in Kentucky. Is that right, John? I think that's where you are, right? Just tell me for sure if I have that right. And Kendra Brooks, congratulations. I spoke to you at where? Was that in Philadelphia, right? Please let me know, Kendra. But I mean, not Kendra, Joan. Please remind me. But like I said, let me tell you folks, it is so important. Let's see, anyone seen the interviews Andy Barkin did with Democratic candidates regarding Medicare for All? They're worth watching. Hey, just me, go ahead and stick a link in there for me, please. It is a good thing for us to have a link. And folks, those of you that are on YouTube, if you want to be nice to us, you can actually give us something. You can actually throw that thing that they have on YouTube that says, hey, I want to put my comment on top. I don't remember what it's called. Just go ahead and uptick your message. Support politics done right by upticking your message. Okay, Edouard says, millennials outvoted older folks in 2018, and that was a midterm. That means Gen Y, Gen X, and Gen Z outvoted prior generations in the midterm. Imagine the turnout if a progressive is the nominee. Pennsylvania, I know I remembered you from Netroots. Absolutely so. Let me tell you something, folks. This is important, what our people here are saying. Like I always say, I have the best listeners, the smartest listeners out there, both conservatives and liberal alike. Look, folks, let me tell you, it is important that we get this thing done. Democrats that are out there, independents that are voting democratically, Republicans that are voting democratically, let your people know that you want Medicare for all. Let your people know that you want loan forgiveness. Let your people know that you want child care so that other people can join the workforce. Let your people know all these things. These are not left-wing ideas. These are moral, humane, honest ideas that we can afford. They need to tell you that it is left-wing for one reason and one reason only. The only reason they need to tell you that it's left-wing is so that you fear it, so that you think it's going to do something to the economy, as if left-wing governments inherently destroy economies. Let's remember what destroyed our economy. Let's look at not Venezuela, let's look at Chile. I wrote an article, I referenced an article from the fear.org today about Chile on my site, egbertowillies.com. Please visit that about Chile. Because we have been fed all the wrong information, and the news media, look, they're good people trying to report the news. They're good people. But they all have producers. And their producers all have to keep the advertisers happy. So when they tell the hosts what they can and cannot say, when they, and you know, as, what's her name? Crystal Ball I need to find that video that she did. You know, she worked for MSNBC. And she says, they don't come out and tell you, okay, Crystal, you cannot speak about this issue or you can't take this position. That's not how they do it. The way they do it is they say something like, we don't want to take a position on that because, you know, there is a position here, a position. Or they will kind of let you know indirectly that they don't want you to cover something. That's how it works in the mainstream media. These are good people trying to report. I mean, when you go to school to be a journalist, you want to do the right thing. But when you're working for the corporatocracy, you cannot always do the right thing. Because yes, we are indentured servants to the corporation. Yes, we are slaves to the corporations many a times. And, you know, you have to feed your family and you have to do these things. So many of these things are understood. But there are always ways around what you do. There are always ways to make things better. Folks, we are coming to the end of the show. I want to thank you so kindly, and I mean this from the depths of my heart, for joining up with us, for listening, for spending however many minutes you spend listening to me. I hope you spend the whole hour, but if you can't, I want to thank you guys for being here. But I also want to I want to urge you to share these videos. Make sure a lot of people hear them. Share our links. If you see that we write an article, share it. Because we have a monster to deal with. And for those of you who have the wherewithal, please consider going to politicsdoneright.com, and become a subscriber. Become a subscriber. Become a person that says, I want to make a difference. I am going to make a difference. I'm going to help all those that are out there busting their butts to make a difference. We can do it. We are doing it. We show those wins that we had in Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Texas, and elsewhere. Those wins didn't come from some centrist win. Those wins came from the delta created by progressives. Those wins came because we worked for it. We have a lot of people busting their butts out there. We cannot fail. We cannot allow a change that is no change. We have got to keep the ball rolling. You are it. You know, my good friend Tom Hartman always says that it's in your, something to the effect, the ball is in your field, and tag, you are it. And really, you are it, brothers and sisters. You are it. I don't care who you are. We have to start being our brothers' keepers. We have to start looking out for each other as grassroots folks. Because there is an institution out there, an ever-growing institution out there, who is intent on devouring everything to the core until all we're left with is us being subservient, us being indentured servants to the few. That is where we're heading. We're almost there. If you doubt it, if you doubt that we're almost there, look at your bank account. Look at what you have saved for the rest of your life. Take a look. I don't even have to ask you to write about it. I know it. We have to get past that. It is time for us to do it. Just me, thank you. El Dubu, thank you for being here. Michael Tharp, Joan Mayer. Let's see who else. Reynard Blake, Mike Cisak, Manuel Herrera, Michael D. Newton. Love you all for being here. Please share. Let's make sure and get the message out. Go to politicsdoneright.com. Please become subscribers. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.